You've heard it. Some kids see too much, and their eyes start holding secrets darker than midnight.
Before we go deeper, hit subscribe, because this story turns fast, and I don't want you missing the end.
My name is Eli, and I was still young when they brought me through that gate to the DuPont cane estate under cold floodlights. The Louisiana heat sat on my skin like a sentence, and the cane smelled sweet, until you got close enough.
Charles DuPont looked at people the way he looked at land, measuring value, finding weakness, never breaking a sweat.
Foreman Pete leaned in and muddled that my mother died wrong, and that wrongness was following me here.
Folks swore my mama cursed men with a stare, then vanished in a church fire nobody wanted to explain.
DuPont asked my name, and I answered calm, because inside, I wasn't scared. I was already planning.
It wasn't 1860, but it still felt like it, dressed up in 1960 manners and brand new lies.
DuPont told Pete to watch me close, and I love that. Fear is the first seed you can grow.
They put me in cabin 4 with men who'd learned survival means silence, and silence means staying alive.
Marcus was built like a wall, but even a wall can crack when it's been hit enough times.
Sarah hummed church songs like a shield, the kind you hold up when nobody else is coming to help.
Tom watched everything twice, because here, you only get surprised once, and then you don't get up.
Marcus warned me, keep your head down, don't stare at Pete, and never look like you've got pride. I nodded like a good boy, but inside I heard my mother's promise. Make them pay, one secret at a time. The bell hit before sunrise, and the day swallowed us whole. Cane, sweat, and rules written with fear.
While others survived minute to minute, I survived by collecting patterns. Who lies, who drinks, who fears daylight. Celeste DuPont moved like a ghost in linen. Lonely people get reckless, and reckless people are easy to steer.
Pete drank on a schedule, slept on a schedule, and hurt people on a schedule, meaning he could be predicted.
In the fields, people whispered like the cane, soft, constant, and every whisper was a blade I could sharpen.
I learned DuPont owed men in New Orleans, and men who loan money never forgive. They collect, or they crush you.
Then I saw Jack, skin too light, eyes too familiar, and I knew a family secret was standing in plain sight.
Nobody laid hands on Jack, not even Pete, and that told me Jack's blood mattered more than rules.
I spoke gentle, like it was nothing, because the best traps start as conversations you think you chose. I let his real story peek through my words, and Jack's face said it all. He'd suspected, but feared truth.
I didn't push. I offered understanding, and understanding is addictive when you've been lonely your whole life.
Jack finally whispered what he never dared say. What am I to them? And I knew the crack was open.
Then came Aunt Russo from New Orleans. Sharp eyes, sharper tongue, born to sniff scandal like blood in water. With Russo on that porch, I didn't need luck, just timing, and the family would do the damage themselves. 2 days after Russo arrived, Celeste started watching me like I was the first honest thing she'd seen.
She called me closer, and I came slow, because power loves patience, and patience always looks like obedience.
Celeste asked about the rumors, about my mother, about gifts.
And I heard the loneliness behind her pride. I told her I was just a field boy, nothing special, because the best bait is the kind that acts harmless.
She didn't want magic. She wanted to be seen, and I was the first person willing to say it out loud.
I told her I could see her fear and her hunger, and her face proved I'd touched the real wound.
She acted offended, but she didn't punish me,
because punishment would admit I mattered, and she needed that feeling.
After that, Celeste started talking about grief, about shame, about the house feeling like a cage with polished bars. Russo toured the stable, and the moment she saw Jack's eyes, her smile sharpened like a blade.
Celeste didn't confront her husband. She led Russo straight to the proof, because humiliation hurts more in public.
Russo asked, "Who is he with a sweet voice?" And the stable got colder without a single cloud.
Celeste acted stunned, wounded, betrayed, perfectly, because truth hits harder when it wears a costume.
From the manor window, DuPont watched the seas unfold, and his eyes said one thing: this is ruin.
That night, the manor walls shook with accusations, and every raised voice made tomorrow's rumors easier to believe.
Jack realized special wasn't protection. It was a spotlight, and spotlights burn when secrets are involved.
Celeste came to me trembling, not to confess. She came to ask what else her husband was hiding.
I told her there was more, and my smile did what words couldn't.
Made her feel powerful for the first time.
The weather turned mean, and I welcomed it. Storms make noise, and noise is cover for consequences.
I learned Pete wasn't just a foreman. He was tied to Jack by blood, and that made him combustible. I'd mapped the manor like a maze, and DuPont's office was the center, where paper could kill reputations. The lock was old and proud, and it opened like it wanted to be betrayed. Quiet, quick, final. I found the money trouble in plain ink. Promises, threats, deadlines, each one pushing DuPont closer to panic.
My mother taught me how people write when they think they're important, and I could copy that arrogance perfectly.
I wrote a letter about selling Jack and a few strong workers. Just enough truth mixed in to taste real. Then I sealed it with DuPont's own mark, because people don't question the symbols they worship. I placed it like a mistake, because the best evidence is the evidence that looks accidental.
I told Pete DuPont wanted him in the office. Said it like I was scared, so Pete would rush in.
Pete's face darkened, because fear doesn't ask for proof. It only asks for a target.
20 minutes later, Pete found the letter, and the storm outside finally had competition inside that room.
Pete accused DuPont of selling Jack, and DuPont's confusion only made him look guiltier than the truth.
He swore he didn't write it. But when evidence looks perfect, innocence sounds like a lie. Their fight wasn't new. Money, pride, old secrets. My letter just ripped the tape off what was already bleeding.
Pete's hand went to his side, and the room held its breath, because everyone knows what that motion means.
The thunder swallowed the sound, but not the meaning. In one instant, they were arguing. The next, the world changed.
By sunrise, the story shifted. People said I'd curse the house, and fear did the rest for me. Sarah whispered that my mother's spirit was watching, and once people believed that, they stopped questioning anything.
That night, I gave them a sign. Just enough to feel supernatural, not enough to be explained.
A strange glow danced between the stalks, and people ran toward it like answers, even when answers are traps.
Darkness held people back, but curiosity pushed them forward, and fear made them see what they wanted to see. They heard a woman's voice say, "Protect him," and once you hear a dead promise, you obey it. When they found me lying still in my bunk, the myth locked in place like a steel door.
The next day, people left little gifts by my bed, hoping fear could be bought like safety.
Once they trusted the legend, they trusted me. Routes, keys, names, habits, everything that keeps a place running.
The house crew looked down on the field crew, and I realized pride is the easiest fire to spread.
Mama Josephine ran the kitchen like a kingdom, and I knew I'd need her fear before I needed her trust.
I told the field hands Josephine skimmed their rations, and anger rose fast, because hunger has a short fuse.
Then I told the house crew the field hands would blame them for anything that went wrong, and fear did its job. Jack asked if I was behind the strange things, and I answered like fate itself was speaking through me. I told him blood doesn't protect you. Secrets always surface, and when it's over, people will choose sides.
October arrived like a fever, and the estate turned into a powder keg, one spark away from total collapse.
Russo came back from the city with a smile that meant trouble, and she carried it like perfume.
At breakfast, she spoke softly, but every word landed heavy, like she was reading a verdict, not gossip.
DuPont listened as his family name turned into a joke in the city, and panic started breathing for him.
When lenders lose faith, they don't wait. Phones ring, letters stack, and the ground under you starts cracking.
Russo called it a rescue, new investors, a quick sale. But it was a takeover wrapped in manners.
Celeste didn't comfort him. She studied his weakness, because betrayal makes some people hungry, not sad. With the family wobbling, I picked my next pressure point, because collapse is easiest when everyone blames everyone.
Josephine sensed shortages before anyone else, and fear makes a manager strict. So I fed her a bigger fear.
I told her I'd seen fire in a dream, families scattered, work crews sold off, and nobody staying together.
I said DuPont would sell the place to save himself, and every worker would be shipped out like inventory.
Then I whispered the idea. If the estate becomes worthless, nobody buys it, and nobody gets separated.
Josephine didn't argue. Her silence answered me, because desperate people don't debate, they decide.
I'd been gathering fuel for weeks, because real chaos isn't rage. It's planning that looks like routine. Pete was cracking, guilt on one side, paranoia on the other, so all I had to do was push. I told Pete DuPont to blame him for everything, because a cornered man will bite first.
I hinted DuPont had proof of Pete's skimming, and the bottle stopped shaking, because now it was war.
I said the sheriff would come in the morning, and Pete stood up like the floor just turned to ice.
Pete marched toward the manor with a decision already made, and I stayed behind, clean and invisible. Right after midnight, the mill caught fire fast, like it had been waiting for an excuse to burn.
People grabbed buckets and ran, because fire turns every rule into a rumor, and every plan into instinct.
DuPont stood on the porch staring, because losing money hurts, but losing control is something else entirely.
Celeste laughed like the flames were telling her a secret, and I knew the house was past saving.
While everyone fought the fire outside, Pete chose the office inside, because vengeance prefers privacy. A shot cracked through the noise, and this time there was no near miss, only a silence that followed.
Pete stood over what he'd done and realized there's no drinking your way back from certain decisions. A final sound came from inside, and after that, the only thing talking was the fire itself. Celeste vanished upstairs, carrying her shame like a trophy, and the night kept covering for everyone. Morning showed the truth. Buildings blackened, people stunned, and the DuPont world looking smaller than it ever had. Jack looked at me like he finally saw the pattern, and patterns are terrifying when they spell your name. I told Jack I was just a worker, and sometimes people are unlucky.
By mid-morning, the sheriff showed up with tired deputies, and they wanted the simplest story possible.
He looked around like the place offended him, but he didn't want truth. He wanted closure.
Josephine described the fire and the chaos, leaving out anything that sounded like a plan, because she wanted to survive.
They interviewed people fast, and every answer sounded the same, because confusion makes easy alibis for everyone. When the sheriff asked about me, I gave him fear and humility, because that's the costume adults trust.
I placed myself where everyone could remember me, because the safest hiding place is in plain sight.
The coroner gave them an easy explanation, and easy explanations are the ones people choose when they're tired.
They called the fire accidental, because digging deeper would expose the kind of truth nobody wants to touch.
Then the sheriff dropped the real bomb. Debts meant an auction, and everybody on the grounds would be reassigned.
The camp erupted in fear, because being split apart isn't just loss, it's a kind of disappearance.
I watched them cry and felt nothing, because I wasn't building comfort. I was building escape.
Jack was isolated and angry, which made him perfect, because lonely people will follow the first clear plan.
I told him his blood gave him choices, and choices are intoxicating when you've lived inside a cage.
I said we'd leave before the auction, and his eyes shifted, because he wanted to believe I could do it.
I'd taken money from the manor debris, quietly, because freedom is expensive, and I planned to pay.
I gathered tools like a soldier, not a child, because the only thing I trusted was preparation.
People still believed my gift, and belief is useful, because believers will move when you point.
After midnight, I gathered them in the yard and let silence build, because fear listens better than hope.
I warned them the auction would destroy families, and when people picture loss clearly, they'll risk anything to escape it.
I told them to follow me into the night for freedom, and behind my calm voice, the trap was already set.
About half of them stepped forward, not because they trusted me, because terror finally outweighed caution. The ones who stayed behind looked relieved, until they realized relief doesn't stop what's coming next. We moved in a single file through the dark, because a group feels brave until it hears the first branch snap.
At the riverbank, the air turned colder, and everyone whispered, like the water could hear us.
I told them the spirits demanded we split up, because confusion is the best shield an escape can wear.
I gave them a meeting place a week away, knowing there would be no meeting, only silence and distance.
One by one, they vanished into the dark, and none of them realized they were carrying my cover story with them.
Jack hesitated, and I didn't beg, because power never begged. It simply walks away.
I led him to a small skiff I'd hidden under cypress roots, because I never trust one exit. We pushed off without a splash, and the shore behind us felt like a mouth closing.
At dawn, the swamp turned gold and red, and it looked beautiful, like it didn't know what I'd done.
Jack kept staring at me like I was a puzzle, and I let him, because confusion keeps people obedient.
I told him the family collapsed from its own rot, and I only pulled the threads that were already loose.
We landed on a quiet bank to rest, because running is easy. Staying invisible is the hard part. I changed small details, mud, cloth, a borrowed cap, because small changes break big searches.
Far behind us, engines started up, and I knew the story I planted would guide their hunt the wrong way.
The split groups meant footprints everywhere, and the searchers would chase shadows while I moved clean.
Jack finally understood I used the others as noise, and his respect turned into a cautious kind of fear.
I told him he could leave right then, but he didn't move, because choice feels like freedom, even when it's staged. We traveled downriver instead of north, because everyone expects the obvious, and I never give them that.
We didn't light a fire, because warmth is nice, but being seen is deadly.
I taught Jack to listen for engines and dogs, because the swamp warns you if you respect it.
Somewhere in town, the auction went on without us, and I pictured names being called like sentences.
I looked back once, not with regret, just to confirm the past was far enough away to stop chasing me.
Jack asked what I really was, and the question sounded like he already knew the answer.
I told him I learned early that the strongest weapon isn't a gun, it's knowing what people will do to themselves. Behind us, rumors grew legs. People said the place was cursed, and that the boy vanished into fog.
They'd search roads and fields, but nobody would search the water the way I knew how to use it.
I wasn't just escaping. I was rewriting my life, and I promised myself I'd come back one day with power. Jack finally saw the cost of following me, and he stayed anyway, because going back was worse.
The fog closed around us like a curtain, and the world we left behind became a story nobody could prove.
I learned the real weapon is human nature. Push the right weakness, and people destroy themselves for you.
Here's the twist. There was no magic at all. Only a boy who understood fear better than adults did.
People still call it a cursed estate, because a curse feels easier than admitting humans chose every awful step. If this story chilled you, subscribe now, because the darkest truths aren't monsters, they're people, and the next one is worse.